Hey everybody, welcome back. Devin the OG, the original Grognard here for Lock and Load Publishing, and we're back at the table, and look at we've got today. A lot of people have been expecting this. We've been hinting at this. We've been teasing at this. We've been showing demonstration artwork for this for quite some time. A few of you have even been lucky enough to help Sean Druelinger, the designer of Point Blank, play this at a certain couple of cons. I know a lot of people have been asking about this. When's the Kickstarter? When's the Kickstarter? We're getting really, really close, people. In fact, so close that we have now got playtest and promotional copies of the game in hand for playtesters and promotional purposes. Now, I will say, what I am about to show you, this is going to be an unboxing of sorts, but I don't really have a box for it. But it's going to be a reveal of all the stuff that's going to be in the game, including the Kickstarter stretch goals. So if you like some of the stretch goals in here, when the Kickstarter goes live, you should probably go and make sure to get those stretch goals so you can get all the really cool stuff that's in here. But this is all promotional design work so far. The rulebook is not final. The play mat is not final. The cards are not final. The counters are not final. These are all promotional and playtest kits. I will go ahead and right now, and let's just go ahead and take a look at one of these cards. Here's a terrain card. You know, you'll notice it's not cut real center, real perfectly. It's not got the rounded corners. It's not real thick. This is just for promotional purposes and playtest purposes. This is something we're able to print in-house. The final product, which when we get it printed out, will be the high quality poker size playing cards. It'll have the rounded corners. They'll probably be fiber weave cards. If you're familiar with the cards that we included with World at War 85, it's going to be that same high quality. The rule book is probably going to be pretty much the same because, I mean, rule books are rule books. Player aid cards are going to be good card stock like we have in most of our games. The counters, right now, again, these were done in-house, and these are not our typical rounded corners, and these are very, very skinny. These are not our standard size. That's okay. Again, this is just something that we printed in-house, so for playtest and promotional purposes. The final product will be, you know, the counters that we all know and love from Lock and Load Publishing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go, and I know we have shown a lot of artwork, a lot of promo pictures, but we haven't really ever seen everything right in hand. So everything you're seeing right here is we're getting really close to the Kickstarter, and this is a good representation of everything. Some art and some text and some elements may change between here and the Kickstarter, but we just wanted to give you a quick rundown. First of all, you're going to be starting off with the Point Blank rulebook, and it is, you know, your typical Lock and Load Publishing 2-column, really large font, graphics everywhere. I mean, look at this. This is beautifully huge. Now, I will mention that this is a very icon-heavy driven game. You're not going to see a lot of text on the cards other than like the name of the leaders or the units or maybe the terrain. A lot of it is all icon generated, all these icons that you see right here. So there's going to be a little bit of memorization that goes with it, but honestly, it all makes sense. And once you play a game or two, it all falls into play. So, you know, you've got your setup, full color. It's your regular rule book. You know, and we've got examples in red, and just, you know, it's your typical rule book. And we've got the game narrative, charts and tables that were going to be filled in, and the notes in the back. I mean, honestly, when you get down to it, I don't want to say it's a heavy game. I mean, it's 79 pages with everything. But again, we're talking a lot about big font, big text. There are a couple things that are a bit more detailed that you do kind of have to pay attention to, because this is kind of an abstract game. And let's go ahead and take a look at map, and I'll kind of refer to that, why it's an abstract. You don't have hexes. You've got sectors. Each sector is its own area. And you can, if you notice, it stretches all the way to the other side and back. So you've got this yellow area right here in the middle. This is basically no man's land. This is neutral zone. And all the scenarios, when you have a scenario, and I wish I could show you, but I don't have the scenario manual right now. Scenario manual will be ring bound, just like this. It's just Sean is still working on a lot of the scenarios, and so basically the playtesters are working with a PDF of the scenario so far. But this will be the neutral zone, and normally, or no man's land, you might have some terrain. The scenario may direct you to have some terrain set up in here, but the allies will be on one side. We'll have one side of the board, and you notice there A, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then across A, B, C, D, E. And it's the same on the German side, only reversed. So they've got well, actually, it's not even reversed. It's A1, B, C, D, E. So A's, B's, C's, and so on and so forth. And we don't really specify how big an area is. It's just an area that is big enough or small enough to contain and do what you need to do with the cards that are set up inside there. Now, one thing you can do is you can kind of see this is kind of a beautiful overhead map. You've kind of got a river running through here, or a bridge here, fields here. Ignore it all. It has no effect on gameplay. Just because there's a river running through this sector right here doesn't mean there's actually a river in the game. That is represented by terrain cards. And these terrain cards are sometimes set up in a scenario. And so, the scenario will tell you, this is how you set up. And, okay, so this sector has a hill in it. This sector has a road in it. This sector has a stone wall. Now, there are ways in game to get new terrain out there. Basically, every time you move into a new area, a new sector, you draw a terrain card. Now, sometimes they can be good, but every once in a while, let's see if I can find one of them. Yeah, stream. You come across a stream. Units may not refuse. That means they're wandering along and they just happen to come across a stream and they can't refuse it. So they're stuck with the stream. And there are conditions to be able to get rid of the stream. And you'll notice right down here in the lower right-hand corner is the terrain effects modifier. Well, streams aren't real good, so you're going to get shot up a little bit more. It's a -1, whereas, and the marsh is even worse. It's a -2. Whereas you have a woods, which gives you a +2 modifier. So this is how you read the terrain cards. The terrain cards have the picture on it. It has the description there. It has the terrain effects modifier. And I'm going to say right now, if you know how to play Lock and Load Tactical, you're going to know how to do the combat system for this. There's a lot of DNA from a lot of Lock and Load Tactical in here. And I will say, there is a lot of DNA from the old Avalon Hill up front game. If you know how to play those two games, basically throw both of those games, put them in a blender, throw in some new innovative LOS mechanics and some other mechanics, and bam, you've got Point Blank. I've played this a couple times through. It's pretty damn fun. But so a terrain card, your terrain effects modifier, and this icon right here indicates either it's blocking terrain, so it'll block line of sight, or you'll have these icons with the brush, which is kind of like the sleepy lid. That's the closed eyelid. And this is the sleepy eyelid, which is obscuring terrain, or degrading. Is it degrading? Obscuring? I always get the World at War and Lock and Load Tactical terms mixed up. But so you've got this huge deck of terrain cards. And this is what, now sometimes if a sector doesn't have anything in it, then it's just considered clear, even though if you're wandering along and you do a move action, and whenever like I said, whenever you move into a new sector, you draw a new terrain card, you could end up with the clear card. And that goes, and that'll go right into the sector right there. And that's everybody in that sector will fall under those rules. Now, there are also terrain additives. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of those. We've got smoke. Squads can lay smoke, and if you can tell, it's got the closed eyelid on it, so it is blocking terrain, and it gives a terrain modifier of +1 if you're in it, because, smoke prevents you from being seen. So those are some additive terrains that will go on top of or in conjunction with any other terrain that's already in the sector. Of course, and there's wrecks, so if vehicles get bloated up, They're degrading terrain, and they provide a +1 modifier. Now, wrecks, of course, come from when AFVs or vehicles are destroyed. Let's see what else we got here. We got wire. Sometimes wire will show up, and that's not good to run into. That's an additive terrain. Minefields. Minefields can pop up. Those are usually done by scenarios. And then there's a whole bunch of other cards that you pull out when you build the terrain deck. So those are some of the additive cards for terrain. Now let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, we've also got another type of terrain cards. These kind of these off color. Well, there's kind of a nice greenish tint to them. These are, well, special tiles that get placed by scenario, and well, rivers. Units may not enter this area. So, but we've also got these terrains that have got these little flags behind. These are victory conditions. So this is a town square. It is a terrain card that will go on a sector out there, and it is blocking terrain. It does provide a terrain effects modifier of 2, and we have hinted before at what these flags mean. To capture this sector, you need a unit with a white flag on it, and mostly that is going to be infantry squads. Infantry squads have got a white flag, so to capture the town square, you need to have one infantry squad with a white flag on it. Now, sometimes you may come across something like the orchard, which has a black flag and a white flag. So to capture that sector, you will need a unit with a white flag in it and a unit with a black flag, which is usually vehicles. Actually, I think it is just vehicles. I don't think ordnance or guns fall under that. So to capture that area, you're going to need an infantry squad and a vehicle in there. There are, let's see, does that? Okay, so yeah, okay, here's something. We got a Panzerfaust. That also counts as a black flag. So if you had a Panzerfaust in here, town square, or not town square, the orchard, and probably being carried by an infantry squad, well, that'll fulfill the capture requirements for that. I will point out real quick, this card is a little bit different than a normal card. As you can see, it's got kind of this wider border around it. These cards represent weapons and leaders. So here we have a leader, has got the same way. In the final print run, these cards all this excess will be cut off. These will be much smaller micro cards that will go on top of your infantry squads. So they are additions to infantry squads rather than their own full units. Although technically, I guess a leader is its own full unit, can move on its own. But like support weapons, and so you've got like an MG42 here. All this excess will be cut up, and these will be micro cards. Now, there's a lot of cards in this game. Lots and lots, a lot more cards than were in World of War 85. I would recommend getting sleeve protectors. That's just because it will make the cards last longer. I've sleeved pretty much. Well, yeah, pretty much every game that I have that requires cards, I've sleeved. I use Dragon Shield cards. You pay a little bit more for them. I think it's like $12 for 400 or 300 or something like that. But they're really good quality, and they got some really good colors with it. But yeah, I haven't done that with this set because, well, this is a promotional set, and I really don't care what happens to this at the end of the day. This isn't going to be my play set. But again, we've got all these different victory conditions, supply dumps, supply drops, railroads. So these are all victory locations that will be put into play by scenario design. Okay, so that's the terrain cards. We've looked at the additive cards. We've looked at the victory condition cards. Let's take a look at the counters. Now, like I said, don't get put off by how these counters look. These are just promotional counters. The final counters will, of course, be the usual lock and load publishing, high quality, thick rounded corners that we all are familiar with. So, and again, most very, very icon driven. We're thinking of perhaps removing the actual text from the counters themselves because you don't really need the text on them. This is a spotted marker. So if a sector has been spotted, you just put that in the sector. If a unit is under a move, you put that. You've got shaken, you've got fired. What else have we got? You've got fatigue markers. to mark the unit's fatigue with, and there's just a whole plethora of other stuff. Buttoned, unbuttoned, victory locations, weapon broken, just a whole plethora of counters to be able to play with. Flanking attacks, and there's a button marker. So again, lots of counters, but again, don't be put off by how these counters look. These are not the final print. Okay, so we've gone over terrain cards. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the unit cards. So here we got a tank. It's a M4A1. That's the old Sherman. Nationality, it's a black flag victory condition. And then you've got and then it's got tracked. And that indicates it's a tracked vehicle, and the T is for a turreted vehicle. And then you've got all these icons. Those icons are all the different the actions that a unit can do, or you can play a card on for that to make that unit do that. So basically, the arrow is move, the explosion is fire, that's smoke. I can't remember what the track is. I think that's maybe assault. Yeah, that's overrun. And then just other, all the other different icons. Like I said, very icon heavy. I haven't gotten them all down yet, but I'm working on it. And then you've got two different machine gun values. The machine gun values are in red, and you have the range in the upper right-hand corner. This is just like Lock and Load Tactical, pretty much. You've got the range or range increments, and then you've got the actual firepower. Now, if it's in a triangle, that means the weapon can only be fired when it's or that's out of the I totally completely lost the line of, or the vehicle arc. And then the other machine gun is since it's circular, is 360-degree firepower, which I'm pretty sure the vehicle has to be unbuttoned for that, because that's mounting the pintle mount 50 up there. Morale is in blue. So again, if you're familiar with Lock and Load Tactical, the numbers go along, or the coloring goes along real similar to that. Red is for infantry or high explosive. Blue is for morale. Black is for armor piercing. Now, one thing, we've got something a little bit different down here. We've got a new icon that, if you've never played tactical, it's okay. We haven't seen this before. This is basically the range band and your to hit numbers and the armor piercing value. So basically, if it's a red, it means it's short range, which is 1 or 2 sectors. Yellow is 3 to 5 sectors, and white is 6 or more sectors. And that basically, so if you're firing at 1 or 2 sectors, your to hit is 8, your armor piercing is going to be 4. Again, really similar to how the Lock and Load ordnance, vehicular ordnance to hit charts work. If you're at medium range, which is 2 to 5, your to hit number is a 6 and your armor piercing is a 3, and so on and so forth. And then much easier armor diagrams for the vehicles. We've got basically front 5, flank 2. That's the armor. There's no turret hits. There's no, left. It's either front or flank, and you don't have to worry about turret or anything like that. It's just hitting the vehicle. Here's an officer, American officer, morale is 7, and his leadership modifier is a 1. And he's got a couple icons down here that you can tap this leader and can do one of these actions in addition to any other actions you do by playing a card. Now we'll get to that in a little bit. And so this is a rally and a reduced fatigue. Rally, and I should probably have the card here. I know what they do. I just sometimes forget. That is rally and ready. So yeah, okay. So you can tap him, and he can freely, once per turn, rally or ready anybody that's in his sector with him. So officers are really cool. They get to do they can do their action once per turn. Okay, so now we have a bazooka. And again, the bazooka's got the range table. That's the what is the 2? Because the armor piercing value is down here. That may be a high explosive value if you're fine. But anyways, no fire from buildings, so you can't fire it from a building. You got the M1919A4, the 30 caliber. It's got a range of 4 areas, and it's got a high explosive or an infantry firepower of 2. And there we go. Now we're looking at an infantry squad. This is an American infantry squad. Sometimes you have some little text on here. Plentiful ammo. So basically, there are times through drawing cards and drawing actions and doing your events, you could run out of ammunition. Well, U.S. infantry squads, they have plentiful ammo, so they aren't affected as badly by an out of ammo event. And as you can see, you've got their icons that they can use. They can move, they can fire, they can smoke, and they can conceal. Their morale value is a 6, and their firepower is 1 infantry firepower out to a range of 3. And here's an airborne squadron, which are a little bit better trained. They count as 2 white flags, and they can move, fire, smoke, conceal, assault, recon. I can't remember what that one is, and rally. I think they can self-rally. Plus, they have plentiful ammo. Their morale value is a 6, and it's a infantry firepower value of 2 out to 2 areas. And there's infantry squads. And okay, so we're back around. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other. Let's take a look at some of the other U.S. units here. So we've got a whole plethora. We've got armor leaders, and you can tell an armor leader is right there by armor. And we've got Sergeant Miller, Sergeant Clark. Not all leaders do the exact same thing. So this is a regular infantry leader, Lieutenant Peterson, and you can tell he's got, once per turn, he can do a rally or unit action, which means he can tell a unit in his sector to do one of their actions if you don't have the card specifically for it. However, Sergeant Clark has got rally and ready as his event. So you got to kind of really keep an eye on what icons the leaders have. And then, of course, you got here Sergeant Smith, who's got a rally, or you can redo any one dice roll. That's a really cool power, a really cool event. So at any time during the turn, you can tap him, spend him, not tap him. We can't use tap for copyright purposes. You spend him and you can redo a dice roll. So you got a whole bunch of really cool leaders here. And see, Lieutenant Mason can rally or do a recon event, a scouting event, which is really cool. Captain Bowden, Corporal Day, and then we have weapons. Again, ignore the excess. These are going to be little mini micro cards. They're going to be cut down to size in the final version. We've got bazookas. We've got bars. Again, 1 firepower out to a range of 3. We got satchel charges. 6 firepower. Let's see, what does it say there? 1 use then remove, use in melee only, roll for blaze after. So you can start fires in the sectors. So satchel charges, you got radios to call in artillery strikes. You got Flammenwerfen. Now we're going to look at some of the stretch goal cards. You can kind of tell because they're just slightly colored off. They won't be slightly colored in the final, but these are going to be some of the stretch goals. You have a med kit, and if you can remove to automatically conduct a rally with a med kit. And that's pretty cool for a squad that's doing it. Your Rhino, which is the armored plates that they welded onto the Shermans. So that gives a +1 to all bog checks, so they'll bog less frequently. Okay, so those are the specials, or the smaller cards, I guess you could say, for the Americans. And let's go ahead and take a look at the actual American. Like I said, a lot of cards. This is just the American stuff. I'm going to put this in half. Oh no, these are the Germans. Oh. Let's take a look at the American stuff. We'll get to the German stuff here in a little bit. All right, here we go. All right, so we've got infantry, and one thing that you can tell if a unit is a half squad or a full squad is that if it's a half squad, it'll have this red bar at the top. So that's how you can tell if it's a half squad or a full squad. We've got infantry, a lot of infantry squads. We've got airborne half squads. We've got airborne squads, and if you notice, as you get reduced, you lose some of your special abilities. And you lose some of your firepower. So a full squad has 2 firepower at range 2. Half squad has 1 firepower at range 2. So these are, second line squads for green troops. Second line full squads. And then you've got weapon teams. So like 50 caliber machine guns, we all know what weapon teams are. Those are the special abilities. With this one, however, you notice the text on this one, +2 fatigue after move. So these guys fatigue more basically because, you ever try carrying around a 50? I have. They're like 110 pounds. So it's a pain in the butt to carry these things around. However, They got 4 firepower out to a range of 5, so 50 calibers are really big. You got 81 millimeter mortars, 60 millimeter mortars, M57 anti-tank guns, M76 anti-tank guns, M8 Greyhounds, M4 3E8s, the Easy 8s, the ones with the 76 millimeter on them. You got Jeeps. You've got trucks. I mean, lots and lots of M3A2 half tracks. M4 105s. This is the Sherman with the 105 on it. M18s. M10, the tank destroyers. I mean, M5A1s, the Stuarts. M4A1. So lots and lots of vehicles. M20s. M21s, I mean, just a plethora. M36, the Pershings, I believe those are stretch goal vehicles. So lots of great vehicles and equipment, wide range of it. So there will be point values assigned to all units, so you can build your own. Okay, let's take a quick look at the Germans real quick. I'll just flip through this real quick. Leaders. Got a bunch of leaders, Panzerfaust, Panzerschrecks, MG34s, satchel charges, Pupchen. I love the Pupchen. It was kind of a rocket, recoilless rifle, really, more than anything else. I'm really glad that that the Pupchen found its way. And it was mostly an early war. Med kits. Now these are all part of the stretch goals. So German vehicles, you've got Herzes, and you've got Jägerpanthers, armored cars, Sonderangevierzes, there's Luftwaffe half squads, there's Luftwaffe SS, regular German or line infantry. So that's not all the German stuff. I have a huge, again, another huge, like I said, just tons of cards in here. So yeah, SS half squads, regular squads, second line squads, and half squads, regular infantry, Fallschirmjäger. Then into the weaponry. You got 50 millimeter mortars, 7.92 machine guns, which is the MG42 on the tripod, Panzer IV-H vehicles. Now we're starting to get into the vehicles. Bunch of PZ3Js. What else have we got? The Krupp 88 millimeter, 50 millimeter ATGs, the Pak 38s, the Pak 40s, that's the 75 millimeter, Sonderangefits, 251, the half tracks, and then armored cars, trucks, Tigers. Everybody should drive a Tiger at least once in their lives. Panthers, Stug 3Gs, Martyrs. So yeah, it's just a massive amount of cards. Now, it's not only just the U.S. and the Germans. We got the British in here as well. And they're not even part of the stretch goal, I think. I think they're just straight up... Oh, actually, the British might be a stretch goal. I don't... since I got it all shipped to me at once, I don't know exactly what are supposed to be stretch goals or not. But we've got the British make an appearance as well. And I believe that these are... these are all stretch goals because of the coloration. We got the Piats. And there were satchel charges. Brenns. The Tetrarchs for the air mobile troops. The Firefly, the 17-pounder on there. Reach out and touch me. Yeah, Cromwells. And then infantry squads, half squads, regular squads, and then parachute. So no gliders yet, no oxen bucks yet, but definitely got some good stuff. And I know these are the stretch goal. I know these are stretch goal. Dun, dun, dun. Canadians. I actually have Canadians in here as well. So we get a couple Canadian leaders. And really, it's mostly British equipment because that's what the Canadians used. But, you know, you got the Vickers. And then the Otter. A few of those. And then infantry half squads, Canadian infantry half squads, and Canadian regular full-strength squads. So Canadians are going to be a stretch goal. So again, if you want to play with the Canadians, get those stretch goals reached. And what else have we got? And then we got the one last one right before we get to the heart of the game. Free French Partisans. So we've got a few of those as well. Oh, this guy's pretty cool. Claude Lavassiere. He can either do a scout or he can refuse any terrain. So that's pretty cool. So he can refuse even terrains that can normally be refused. And basically what that means is when you're trying to move into a new sector, you pull a terrain card and you have the option of refusing it or not refusing it. Well, actually, you can either keep it, refuse it, or have it forced upon you, like, you know, the terrain cards that can't be refused, stream, marsh, stuff like that. He can basically, if he sees a card he doesn't like it, he can refuse it, even if it's a good card. Or say if you were moving in, it was a clear, you would have to move in there most of the times. But say he didn't want that, he could refuse that card, and then next turn, you know, hopefully try to draw something a little bit better, wood building, brush, what have you. So that's actually a pretty cool ability for him to have. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the heart of the system, the action cards. Big old deck of action cards. Game turn is defined as by going through this deck once. So if the scenario calls for 2 game turns, you're going to be going through the action deck twice. And as soon as this last card is drawn on the second time you go through the deck, then the game is over. Now, again, these are all very icon driven. Not much in the way in the text, except for down at the bottom, which gives some kind of modifiers. So it's like this one right here. That's a rally and a ready unit. So rally may rally all units, or if you want to use it as a ready, may ready 1 unit. Now, that means you are going to either have to keep the player aid card right next to you, which for your first few times playing, which I do. And there we have all the icons right here on this player aid card. Keep that off to the side so you can take a quick look at it. And the thing I love about it is you've got all the action, game icon actions, and it also gives you the rule number. So you can find out exactly where in the rule book if you're having any confusion on what it is. So basically what it is, you each player, depending on the scenario, has a hand of 5 cards. Usually it's 5 cards from what I've seen. And what you do with these 5 cards is during your impulse, you will play 1 card on a stack or a unit or what have you and activate them, but it has to be an icon. The icon you play has to match an icon on the unit. So for example, right here, say I want to activate the M4A1. Okay, well, it doesn't have a lightning bolt on it, so I can't play that card. It doesn't have a scout, so I can't do that. But there is a fire. It does have a fire icon, so I could play this card to fire that Sherman during the turn. Sometimes you'll have double icons, like a rally and a ready, and you can do one or the other. But basically, you play an action on a unit or a stack. They do that action, they resolve it, and then it flips over to the other person. He takes his impulse, and then you refill back up to your hand at the beginning. So, and you just keep going through that. That's how the game is driven. Now, there is, if you really, really want to do something with a unit that you don't have a card for, you can discard one of these cards, and you can do the action with the unit, but it spins them, which means you flip it, you tap it, you turn it on its side, and that means they really can't do anything more until they get readied. You got to play a readied action on them, or until the end of the game turn, when all readied units at the end, when you go through one entire deck of action cards, at the end of that, all the units that have been unreadied get readied. But let's just take a look at some of these icons. So that's a move action. So if you want to do a move, you're going to play that. If you want to rally, if you want to ready, fire, move, close assault or assault. Sniper cards. You got sniper cards that you can play. They can just take pot shots at enemy units. But yeah, that's a assault action. That's a conceal card. So basically, if someone's shooting at you, you can play this, and that'll give you a +2 to your infantry defense check. Some of you may have played up front will recognize that, the conceal card from up front. But yeah, all these different cards. But you also notice it's got dice symbols in the upper right hand corner. Don't have to roll dice in this game. For those of you who think that the dice are always against you, like me, you actually don't roll any dice. If anytime you need to roll, quote unquote, roll a dice, you just draw a card and look at the number. If you need to draw 2 cards and add them together, you draw 2 cards, add them together, and then discard them. And that really, boys and girls, is what's in the box, even though we really don't have a box for this. But that is a quick overlook and a quick overview of Sean Druelinger's Point Blank. We're hoping to get this at Kickstarter within a month or 2. We've got just a couple minor things that need to be done. We need to finalize some of the counter artwork. Sean is currently working on the point value system, and he is working on a solo system flowchart, very similar to the flowcharts that he did for Lock and Load Tactical. So yeah, we're getting close to this, boys and girls. I know a lot of people, this has been like 3 years that we've been working on this, but we're getting close, and it's coming soon, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And when the Kickstarter goes live, y'all will be the first to know. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms in the comment section below, and I'll talk to everybody later. See ya!